Crimes against personal liberty and security. Under Title IX of Book 2 of the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines, encompass offenses that infringe upon an individual's rights to liberty, security, and privacy, which are fundamental constitutional guarantees. Among these crimes is kidnapping and serious illegal detention, which occurs when a person is deprived of their liberty under severe circumstances. The elements of this crime include the 1. Involvement of a private individual as the offender, excluding public officers acting within their jurisdiction. 2. The kidnapping, detention, or any form of deprivation of liberty. And 3. The presence of aggravating factors such as a demand for ransom, detention lasting more than 3 days, the victim being a minor, female, or a public officer, or instances of torture, physical injuries, or threats of death. A more severe form of this crime is qualified kidnapping, which applies when the victim dies, is raped, or is subjected to torture or other dehumanizing acts, warranting the highest penalty of reclusion perpetua. On the other hand, slight illegal detention refers to the deprivation of liberty under less severe circumstances. Its elements include the offender being a private individual, the detention occurring without the aggravating circumstances found in serious illegal detention, and the detention being temporary and relatively short. A mitigating circumstance is present when the offender voluntarily releases the victim before prosecution, which may reduce the penalty. The punishment for slight illegal detention is reclusion temporal, a lesser penalty than that for serious illegal detention. These provisions in the Revised Penal Code aim to protect individuals from unlawful restraint and ensure accountability for violations of personal liberty, kidnapping, and failure to return. A minor refers to a crime committed by a parent, guardian, or any person entrusted with the custody of a minor who unlawfully detains or removes the minor and subsequently fails to return them to their legal guardian or the institution responsible for their care. Unlike kidnapping, which involves forcible abduction by a private individual, this offense arises from a breach of trust by someone who legally has the child under their care. The law recognizes the gravity of unlawfully withholding a minor from their rightful custodian, as it can lead to psychological harm, deprivation of parental or institutional guidance, and possible exploitation. The prescribed penalty for this offense is arresto mare, imprisonment of 1 month and 1 day to 6 months, and a fine not exceeding P700. Detention is criminal only if it is unlawful, unauthorized, or lacks a valid legal basis. A distinction must be made between illegal detention and lawful detention, such as state-authorized arrests and detentions, which are conducted by law enforcement officials under a valid legal process, e.g., judicial warrants, lawful warrantless arrests. Citizen's arrest, which is legally permissible under certain circumstances, e.g., when a crime is being committed in the presence of a private individual. Parental authority, where parents or guardians exercise lawful custody over minors, unless such authority is abused, as in Article 270, kidnapping and failure to return a minor. In the case of People v. Laranaga, 2004, the Supreme Court upheld the gravity of kidnapping with homicide, emphasizing that even if a victim is later killed, the original offense of kidnapping still stands as a separate crime from homicide or murder. While kidnapping and detention offenses are severely punished, certain defenses and mitigating factors may apply, including good faith. If the accused can establish that the act was justified, e.g., self-defense, citizen's arrest, protection of the victim from imminent harm, criminal liability may be negated. Voluntary release. If the perpetrator voluntarily releases the victim before charges are filed and without causing further harm, the penalty may be reduced. This principle applies particularly to Article 268, slight illegal detention, where an offender who releases the victim within 3 days without ransom or harm can receive a lower penalty. The Supreme Court ruling in People v. Abayan, 2016, clarified that mere restraint of movement does not constitute kidnapping unless proven that the intent was to deprive the victim of liberty indefinitely. This case reaffirmed the importance of criminal intent, mens rea, in distinguishing between false imprisonment and legitimate protective actions. Abduction is a crime involving the unlawful taking or detention of a woman, with distinctions based on whether force or consent is involved. The primary element in both types of abduction is the presence of lewd designs, which distinguishes it from kidnapping. Forcible abduction occurs when an offender forces a woman against her will to go with him, with the intention of subjecting her to lewd acts. The essential elements of this crime include: 1. The victim must be a woman. 2. There must be force, intimidation, or coercion to compel her to go with the offender. 3. The act is committed with lewd intent, which means the abduction is driven by a desire for sexual gratification rather than a lawful purpose. This crime is punished severely due to the double violation of personal liberty and honor. The penalty for forcible abduction is reclusion temporal, 12 years and 1 day to 20 years. On other hand, consented abduction differs from forcible abduction in that it occurs with the consent of the victim. However, the law still penalizes it under certain conditions. 1. The victim must be a minor, below 18 years old. 2. She must be a virgin, as presumed under law. 3. The offender induces or persuades her to leave her home. 4. The purpose of the abduction is lewd designs. Although the victim consents, the state seeks to protect minors from exploitation, which is why the crime is punishable by prison correctional, 6 months and 1 day to 6 years. Trespass to dwelling is committed when a person enters another's home without permission, violating the homeowner's right to privacy and security. This crime has the following elements. 1. The offender enters the dwelling of another. 2. The entry is without the consent of the owner or lawful occupant. 3. The offender has no legitimate reason or legal authority to enter the premises. The law recognizes a dwelling as a place of refuge and privacy, making trespassing a serious offense. However, entry by law enforcement with a lawful warrant, emergency responders, or persons acting in good faith does not constitute trespassing. The penalty for trespass to dwelling is prison correctional in its minimum period, 6 months and 1 day to 2 years and 4 months.